Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. No, I cannot save you. You have to save yourself. The first step is making sure you are aware of what is happening in this country. And the second step is doing something about it. Telling your friends about this radio show is that second step. The third being to demand Congress answer for the mess it is making of our country. Good luck with getting a reply, but if enough of us bother them about it, they'll either have to do something or we'll toss them out at the next election. Or recall them, something we probably need to do more of anyway. Before I get started running down that road, though, this week, well, yesterday, of course, Mitt Romney picked Representative Paul Ryan as his vice presidential running mate, surprising some, and definitely setting the tone for the upcoming election. Now, they had their usual dog and pony show, beginning with Mitt Romney talking about one of the goals should they get into office. And, of course, we've gone through and highlighted some of these, and this will be the first one right here.
We offer our commitment to help create 12 million new jobs and to bring better take-home pay to middle-class families.
So they are going to create 12 million new jobs and bring home better take-home pay to middle-class families. I find it interesting when someone in government says they are going to create jobs. Government cannot create jobs other than by hiring more people into an already overbloated bureaucracy. Maybe he means they're going to cut taxes. That would help businesses afford to hire people and provide more take-home money for that middle class.
To strengthen the middle class, we'll provide our workers and our children with the skills to succeed.
Oops, spoke too soon. Mr. Romney is going to provide our workers and children with the skills to succeed. As you know, if you've listened to this show any at all, government cannot provide anything without taxing people to pay for it. Providing our, quote, workers, which incidentally sounds like something straight out of a speech in Moscow, providing our workers and children with the skills to succeed is not the responsibility of government, not one that strives to minimize the intrusion into citizens' lives anyway.
We will help care for those who can't care for themselves, and we will return work to welfare.
Oh boy, even more good news. We are going to care for those who cannot care for themselves, whether you or they want it or not. That's what government is all about, forcing you to do things it thinks you should do, whether constitutional or not. But the fun doesn't stop there. We are going to return work to welfare, not get rid of welfare, because something like that would make Americans more independent. Why, you might even start thinking you have a little bit of freedom in this country.
As poverty has risen to historic and tragic levels, with nearly 1 out of 6 Americans now having fallen into poverty, we will act to bring these families into the middle class.
So now, instead of citing a war on terror to grab your rights, we are going back to a war on poverty so we can act to bring these families into the middle class. And exactly how do you think that is going to happen? Why, through government programs, of course. These poor people can't do it on their own. They need government to do it for them. Just like the war on terror, we are going to fight the boogeyman of poverty in America, which, like terrorists, is almost non-existent here in this country. If you want to see poor people, go to Africa or the slums of South America or India. That is poverty. Poverty is not about lacking money to put gas in your car. And it is not only being able to watch the digital broadcast television channels since you can't afford cable or satellite. If you think it is, I invite you to drive through some of the housing projects and look at how many satellite dishes are attached to the side of the buildings. Using the word poverty brings to mind images of little children in far-off country somewhere barely clinging to life. That definition does not apply in this country. And trying to tug at the heartstrings of caring citizens so you can raise their taxes is not a good example of leadership. But getting back to Mr. Romney's speech, in case you think maybe I'm overreacting and should let him have his honeymoon period, we'll listen to this next clip.
We will preserve and protect Medicare and Social Security and keep them there for future generations.
So instead of trying to get rid of two wasteful and socialistic programs that have done almost irreparable harm to this country, its people, and the economy, we are going to preserve and protect them in order that future generations can enjoy the debt load we are currently incurring. No, we wouldn't want them to miss out on all of that fun.
We're going to reform health care so that more Americans have access to affordable health care, and we'll get that started by repealing and replacing Obamacare.
Repeal and replace. We have covered that over and over on this show. We want to repeal. We do not want replace. Why can't you people in Washington understand that simple concept? To answer my own question, it is because they are all of the same mind. They know better how to care for you than you do. If you want to increase access and quality, it's real simple. Get the government out of it. How hard is that to understand? An interesting note is that Paul Ryan, Mr. Romney's vice presidential candidate, does not totally share his opinion on some of these issues, and this is some of the quotes or clips from his part of this little presentation.
We have the largest deficits in the biggest federal government since World War II. President Obama and too many like him in Washington have refused to make difficult decisions because they are more worried about their next election than they are about the next generation.
It certainly sounds like Representative Ryan is concerned about all this growth in government and how to stop it. He also goes after Washington as a whole in this clip.
Politicians from both parties have made empty promises, which will soon become broken promises with painful consequences if we fail to act now.
And here he addresses the concept of people giving up, of just accepting this is how the economy is going to be from here on out.
Higher unemployment, declining incomes, and crushing debt is not a new normal.
And he also, here he demonstrates that at least he can talk a good game when it comes to our rights and freedoms.
America is more than just a place, though. America is an idea. It's the only country founded on an idea. Our rights come from nature and God, not from governments.
I know I'm running through these kind of quick, but there's quite a few I want to get to. Here in these next two, he also addressed socialism in America with these remarks.
We promise equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. And this idea was founded on the principles of liberty, freedom, free enterprise, self-determination, and government by consent of the governed.
Hopefully, he can also put a little pressure on Mr. Romney about this whole repeal and replace he keeps using. Here's this quote.
And we won't replace our founding principles, we will reapply them.
Representative Ryan also made this remark at the first of his speech, but I want to play it here at the end because I think it makes the point so much better.
My dad died when I was young. He was a good and decent man. There are a few things he would say that have just always stuck with me. He'd say, son, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
So here we have two people who I think take two different approaches to governing, and it will be interesting to see how things work out between them. Now, neither one of them is really a person that I could get totally behind, and neither one of them would get us anywhere close to where we need to be. But at least Representative Ryan sounds a little closer than Mr. Romney. We'll see how things work out. This all leads me to a little clip we put together just to emphasize that last point I'm making, how these two really are kind of cut from a little bit different cloth. And you can enjoy this little bit. It runs a little bit, about a minute, but I think we can get it in before the break.
And I will repeal and replace Obamacare.
And we won't replace our founding principles. We will reapply them.
I'm going to improve schools and universities and colleges.
We promise equal opportunity, not equal outcomes.
Government will be the partner.
We have the largest deficits in the biggest federal government since World War II.
If we institute pro-growth regulations, pro-growth tax policies, pro-growth intellectual property protections, pro-growth labor policies.
We're in a different and dangerous moment. We're running out of time. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
All right. We've reached the bottom of the show already. This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show. We'll be back after the bottom of the hour break.